What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
I mean, it is 100% a fact that our pineal gland, which people called like the seat of the soul, which the Egyptians were well aware of, like you look at the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, it is the same shape as the pineal gland. Have you ever seen this?
No.
Yeah.
What
So look up the pineal gland and Eye of Ra or Eye of Horus. Horus is spelled Horus. And it's thought that this is done on purpose. You'll see it's like uncanny connection between the pineal gland and our mind, which is where they think that perhaps our soul comes from.
Which one here do you want me clicking?
Let's see.
Right here?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, I'll put this in the corner of the screen.
So you'd have to kind of zoom in, but on the pineal gland, there's certainly a similarity, but you need to like zoom in and really look at it. Then you'll see it. It's hard to see it when it's minimized that far away, but there's undoubtedly like some weird similarity there. And we know that our modern food and our water is calcifying the pineal gland. Like when people get when autopsies are performed, especially on like glioblastomas, which go like deep into the brain, cut the brain in half, they can see that the pineal gland is calcified. My wife
calcified?
Yeah. So it's calcified. Like it I don't know I'm not medical doctor, but something is happening to the pineal gland where it's like dying inside the brain. Because it comes from water that we drink, because it's not happening at other places in the world. My wife, she's in medical dental school right now, and she cut a brain in half and saw that. So we know that the water today is calcifying our pineal glands. And, there are theories out there, and there's like scant evidence that that's the seat of the soul. And the pineal gland might be our quote unquote antenna to something else that's out there. And the water that we drink dulls down our connection, and has dulled down our connection for, over 100 years to that. And so people theorize that could be our antenna. And certainly it seems like the ancient Egyptians knew something significant about the pineal gland, or knew that it was significant in some way. They had medical doctors. They knew about anatomy. The ancient Egyptians, when they would torture people, you know how when people get liver cancer, they can cut off like 80% of the liver and it'll grow back. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, so if you get cancer in your liver, the reason people can beat it is because they can cut off like 80% of your liver and it will regrow itself.
Holy shit.
It's the only organ in the body that can do that. The Egyptians knew that. So when they tortured people over time, they cut out half the liver and it grow back, and they cut out it again and grow back and they cut it out again. Yeah. So and I think it can grow back in a year's time. I think. It's been 3 years since I looked into that.
That's wild.
Yeah. It was 2020, early 2021 that I looked into that. But yeah, so, I wonder if ancient people who are drinking fresh river water, that are eating nothing but chickens and hogs and maize, corn, and vegetables, and they're living a much simpler life that's more akin to probably what Mother Earth intended for us to have, rather than having all of our processed foods that are made on a earth tumor. You know what I mean? Like all of our cities are just earth tumors. And so I wonder if we have cut ourselves off from something that ancient cultures clearly seemed like they had. Look at the stuff that they created in the name of their religion,
Well, I think we have symbolically disconnected in some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, society now, we're in cities, we cut down trees, we're away from nature, right? And look, I love it. I mean, look at the wall. Look where we are right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of beauty in that. But the impact on the world, when you compound all of that all over the world, happening in so many places, it's interesting. I don't like to be the negative Nancy and call the entire human race parasites and stuff, though you can. There's been people on this podcast who have used that term, and I've sat here and said, yeah, because I understand what they're getting at. I don't think that's the intention. I don't think humanity's bad or anything, but we kind of, like we were talking about with something earlier, we kind of kick the can down the road, over and over again on certain things, and that is really fascinating how you just drew that parallel right there. And just thinking about it from the symbolic standpoint of what our society looks like now versus how the earth is actually built to look, that is doubly fascinating. Mm-hmm. And then, it makes you think too about like the different extinctions. Like, I assume you look at some of that stuff over time, like the
Which
history.
extinctions?
So everyone looks at like the Younger Dryas period. Mm-hmm. They say there's 6 extinctions that have happened on Earth and civilizations have been lost. Like, how much do you subscribe to? Maybe the better way to ask this is, how old do you think humanity is?
Well, I think
approximately.
Yeah, I think I think paleoarchaeological evidence. So paleo is just like very, very old. I don't know when the Paleolithic period actually starts and ends, but that would be paleoarchaeology. That'd be a paleoarchaeology question. And the common consensus is that hominids that are Homo sapiens, which is what we are, begin emerging around 200,000 BC. So about 200,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. Around that same time, you also had the Neanderthals, Homo erectus, Homo habilis, and there's like 3 or 4 others that we know of. And so Homo sapiens that are fully fledged like we are, just as smart as we are. Paleoarchaeological consensus is about 200,000 years. Now, what's really weird about that is, why did it take 194,000 years to build Samaria?
Right.
I really, like, that's one thing is, okay, there is no evidence. There isn't any evidence of a civilization that existed at 100,000 BC, okay? But when I see professors and stuff say, like, heavy-handedly, that is absolutely not possible, all that is pseudo-archaeology, I'm like, really? Really? So what you're telling me is that in 158,000 BC, there was somebody who was born that had the same IQ as Albert Einstein and did nothing? They didn't do anything that would last for any kind of significant period of time that we can't have archaeological evidence of. There's no possibility that there's archaeological evidence of. Man, that's kind of that's a tough thing for me to answer, but I certainly think that they did things of significance over the last 200,000 years. But I also can't say that with a lot of confidence because we haven't found the archaeological evidence of it. Although, do you know, like 2 days ago, they found a wooden structure that's 497,000 years old?
No, I was unaware of that.
Yeah, in Zambia. Now, right now, it just looks like it's 2 logs that are stacked next to each other. But something about the like luminescence dating they did of it, as to how deep it is in the ground, they're able to tell how old it is, and they know that it is not natural. And so the archaeologists who are there are saying that the wood, they believe that it's a part of something substantial.
All right. I have this from the Smithsonian magazine. Archaeologists uncovered notched legs that may be the oldest known wooden structure. The interlocking pieces found near a waterfall in Zambia date to 476,000 years ago.
I said 97, but 476.
Same shit. Before Homo sapiens evolved.
Yeah.
So discovered along the Kalambo River in Zambia. The simple construction predates the first appearance of Homo sapiens in Africa. The discovery, detailed in a new paper published Wednesday in Nature, suggests human ancestors built structures made of wood and may have been more complex than previously thought. Holy shit, 476,000 years ago.
How crazy is that? Now, there's a lot of archaeologists who think this is going to get shot down, like in the next couple weeks. That it's not going to be.
Why are we doing that? Why do we have that attitude? Like, I understand, like, you don't want to just be like, well, this is the new thing, so that's what we're doing. Like, I get that, but why do people have to be like, well, no, not on my watch? What the fuck do you know? Yeah. They just found some really cool shit. Why is everyone not on board with trying to figure out what this could be?
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfectly respectable archaeological team that's out there, and and there have been other people peer reviewing it for now, and it hasn't been shut down. So yeah, we could be looking at. I think that you may have read over it, and I blanked, but it's either Homo habilis or Homo erectus that they think created this. So, dude, I mean, we're looking at sub Homo sapiens building civilizations, dude. Neanderthals, like what we consider like cavemen, brutes, they had civilizations, and we know that I can't remember the exact name of the skeleton, but we found Neanderthal skeletons that indicate that this guy had lost his like foot and lower half of his leg early on in his life, and it's because he had like bite marks that were like on his femur, but all the leg bones beneath his knee were gone. But the bite marks that had gone all the way down to his bone had healed over time, but we were able to kind of tell when it happened. And so it showed that he lived the rest of his life missing the lower half of his leg, and then you can like study his teeth, because it shows like, so sometimes people who are like indigenous people who are seasonally starving, which is like an archaeological term, when people are seasonally starving, they develop horizontal lines in their teeth. So it's like tree layers. So you can see when somebody's not eating, and then you can see when they're eating again. So he was seasonally starving for the rest of his life. And so he had he lived probably like 40,000 years ago. But he lost his lower leg in some kind of, it could have been like a saber-toothed cat attack or something like that. Something big chomped his leg off, and it scarred his bone on his femur. And so they're able to study they're able to look at his body, perform like a 40,000 year late autopsy on his body, and determine this guy was helped by the people in his community for the rest of his life. He was carried around for the rest of his life and helped, because they can tell how old the body was and everything. So we see things that are pointing towards civilizations that are not just Neanderthal, or not just Homo sapiens, but also Neanderthals, definitely Homo erectus, definitely Homo habilis, had their own civilizations as well. And this evidence coming out that shows that Homo erectus or Homo habilis may have been creating, wooden thatch structures, that literally wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, dude, who is the really famous wildlife biologist that went and studied apes and chimps in the jungle? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Jane Goodall?
It may have been her.
She did extensive. There's been others who have done it.
Yeah. So she went and studied. I think it was her. It's like an iconic name. Like if either of us were to say it, it may have been her study, but it was really suppressed by the zoological community, because people want to look at human beings and be like, Homo sapiens, we are the problem. We are the worst thing on the planet, blah, blah, blah. Well, what they find whenever they do in-depth studies of apes and chimps that are in the middle of the Congo and the African jungle, what they find is that they have their own kingdoms, and they plot assassinations on their leaders, and they brutally assassinate their leaders. Like, they'll have rebellions, they capture leaders of other tribes. I mean, yeah, dude, like if someday these modern day African chimps are going to evolve into human beings, which I guess they would. I mean, they're on planet Earth, and it looks like they're on the track to do that, as to what scientists say we came from. That doesn't surprise me at all that human beings have been having little civilizations and communities, and plotting to kill each other and assassinate each other, and they even will steal each other's wives, all kinds of stuff. They do the exact same. Chimps living today and apes living today in Africa have civilizations, tribes. They kill each other. They plan to assassinate each other. They have planned, like when they assassinate somebody, they go in like military fashion, and they have, how coyotes will circle their enemies and they all work together, or circle their prey and they all work together. Chimps and apes do the exact same thing.
I've seen video of it.
And so, it's nuts. I mean, dude, that's deep in us.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.